Hello! Welcome to Turn-Based Besties, a podcast where two grown adults with no free time talk about their favorite healers in an RPG. I'm DJ,
And I'm Sam, and we're besties that love to game.
and today's episode is very special because it's another ranking!
I
Bow, 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 bow. I mean, I don't know. I like our ranking episodes. They're kind of fun.
think it's fun. It's a curveball. It's a different flavor.
Yar. But before we get into some healing, how have you been, my friend?
The part my mom listens to.
Oh, does she
Shout out,
really?
mom. She
Hey,
was she,
Mom!
she was talking about. She was like, "Oh, I've been listening a lot more to your podcast. I'm catching up." She says, "I listen to the beginning and sometimes the end if you do a little blurb."
That's why, oh my gosh, Maureen, that's why we get that weird dip in our listeners now because
Yep. She was just like, "I don't know what's happening in the middle. I don't understand it."
that's okay.
She goes, "I don't even know what an RPG is, Sam." And I said, "It's kind of hard to define sometimes. Some people think."
Role playing game. Defined
Or
it.
or or okay, whatever. Whatever. I was trying to cut her some slack, DJ.
Hey, Maureen, you're listening. We will cut you so much slack, girl. It's cool. Don't you worry about it. I appreciate the support. I appreciate it so
That's
much.
great. But yeah, so for the part that she likes, we'll talk about the kiddos. But in though, recently I was picking up in from her after school kind of thing, and they were playing outside, and she was playing soccer with these friends, and she isn't enrolled in soccer yet, so I was excited to watch her playing a team sport. It was cool, and she runs over to me, and she's all excited, and she's just stoked about this experience, and then I thought, okay, well she's going to do a soccer camp this summer. I'll prompt her on that. I'll get her excited. And I said, yeah, you have a week of soccer camp this summer. And she goes, wait. She got really nervous. She goes, with a
Oh.
real human coach. But what if I don't know how to breathe or drink water or how to play? And I was like, what? She goes, we just might not have an athlete here in the family, but maybe we do. I don't know. I'm gonna hold out hope that she might lose the nerves and really lean into soccer.
What if I don't know how to drink water or breathe? Oh, that's
Mm-hmm.
so precious. It's
Mm-hmm.
true. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you.
She'd be frozen by fear.
I think you have a singer on your hands with the snow has vase or the vase has snow.
The vase has snow. The vase has snow.
Um,
I literally have that one stuck in my head all the time. So that story is that In has decided anytime you leave your phone around, she will take it, she will run off with it, and then she will either take pictures of a lot of things or she will record a video of herself making up a song on the spot, and they're pretty good.
they're pretty good.
They're pretty good.
Yeah, I
So
really appreciate it. After you sent that to us while Max and I were making dinner, we were singing "The Vase Has Snow."
it's a catchy little bop.
It's super catchy.
And the last little piece about the kiddos, it's going to be In again. In is just really noteworthy this week, apparently. But I guess we don't take our kids to um, the bookstore very often. We just always take them to the library
Hmm.
because she decided she came home from the bookstore and my mom, I think it was, had taken her there and got her a book so that she could, she bought the book and she was all excited about it. It was a hardcover book. And she goes, Daddy, I got this book and I got it from the place where I can keep the book forever.
Oh,
She's like, where I could buy the book and keep the book forever, as opposed to having to give it back like the library, which is what we always make her do. So yeah. So anyway, she was learning what a bookstore is instead of a library.
oh, that's cute.
It was cute.
That is
What have
cute.
what have you been up to?
I just finished two recitals. Not, neither of them were my own, like standalone recitals, but well, one was, I suppose. Last Saturday was the debut of a new music ensemble here in Seattle with instrumentalists and two vocalists, and I'm one of the two of them. And we
Great.
gave. It happened to be on International Women's Day, but it did. We didn't purposefully plan that, but we gave a recital with all music by Finnish composer Sarajeho, who is a female composer who just passed, I think, 2 years ago.
Hmm.
So modern female composer. I love it. I call it beat boop music because
Explain.
sometimes especially the vocal stuff, we're like beep boop without actually singing beat boop. But it's not maybe a standard melody that would be
Huh.
that would be as readily accessible to every audience,
Okay.
but it's not so brand new that you walk out saying like, "What did I just watch?" There's there's music like that too, which I also find really attractive and fun to sing. But that is not for everybody. But
Interesting.
Sarajevo is odd but purposeful,
Hmm.
and I really enjoy it. And then I sang on my buddy Zach's recital last night, who he's a listener of Turn-Based Besties and has even emailed us a couple times some like questions and game suggestions. We did Fire Emblem for him. Shout out to Zach, who
Shout out to
sounded
Zach.
beautiful on his recital last night, and he let me sing a little bit on the recital with him. It's very cute.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
great. And you sent me the photos, and you've just had some rockin' jackets recently, right?
Yeah, I guess I'm in my jacket era. I don't know. Yeah, no,
I think they look cool.
thanks,
I
man.
just I would mess them up and get food on them in no time, and then they'd be a ruined jacket. But
Well, they're not eating jackets, so I won't wear them with food. So that's how I avoid the stains. But, you
so
know
profound, so smart, so smart. You know what it made me think though? Little
what?
foreshadowing when
Oh,
you talked about the beat boop music. I feel
mhm.
like one of your top healers might be pretty good at singing beat boop music.
She's pretty good at beat booping around, and when we get to her, I'll nerd out because we'll be playing. We will both be playing with her in our party here in a couple months.
We might be talking about different people. My reference might have been different than what you're saying.
Wait a second. Really? Now I have
It's
to go
okay.
and see. Maybe. Nope. Okay. Nope. I think we're not. I think we're talking to the same people, but maybe not.
It's okay. Anyway,
Anyway.
let's keep moving on. So how about we start talking about them? DJ, what is your, we're going to do top five
Our top five
best
what's
favorite healers
favorite
in
healers
RPGs.
in our RPGs. Before we even like talk about our favorite healers in RPGs, like to someone out there listening who may not know what an RPG is, Maureen, how about
Who
we?
has already turned off
She's already turned
and
off at this point.
skipped ahead.
A healer in an RPG is someone who takes care of their party, takes care of their buddies, much like Sam and your awesome wife Taylor and my awesome husband Max. You all are physicians and you are folks who heal. If your character's in a video game, you would heal wounds. You would revive someone if they've been knocked out. You would take care of them if they were poisoned or if they had narcolepsy and were sleeping.
Great example. Yes,
Thank you
that's
so much.
well, good. Yes, that's exactly what healers do.
That's exactly
And
what they do.
they tend to be what associated also with maybe light magic or being a cleric and wearing white classically. And there's a lot of tropes that kind of go along with it. They don't have to, but yeah, they are the healer. And then they also revive people when they're down. So in
Yeah.
RPGs, you commonly have people that might die or pass out or faint or be incapacitated. And it is the healer's job to bring them back to life or get them back up. That is an important role.
Yeah, I always if I have the option to not have a healer, I will always have a healer. I am not brave enough to go through an adventure without someone who's like primary role. Maybe two out of three things they do is heal.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I tend to like one also because I feel like most games, if you don't, you can do that, but also then you might have to carry a whole bunch of like healing items or something, and then it's a little,
And
yeah.
items,
Who can deal
items,
with that?
items are for hoarding. They're not for using, right?
That's a funny. That's a funny right there. That's a good one.
Right?
Um,
I don't know how to use an item. I don't know her.
but you know how to collect them.
I sure do.
Well, on that note, let's get into it. So, DJ, what is your number five
My
favorite
number
healer?
5 favorite healer. I feel like we can't have a list of healers without one of us having at least one character from Final Fantasy, from the Final Fantasy series, right?
Good, good. Yeah, keep
So
us honest.
I'm going to keep us honest and make sure that we don't get too much hate mail. So my number 5 is Aerith from Final Fantasy VII. I will be referencing the classic PlayStation 1 Final Fantasy VII, mostly because I don't really remember my experience with the remake. I played it, it was super fun, but I have more memories from the first one. So if people are like, that's not how
Fair,
she is, just remember I'm talking about the PlayStation 1. You know,
fair.
so Aerith, she's a flower peddler, or at least, she appears to be just someone who sells flowers living in Section 5 in Midgar, except she's also the last of the Cetra, an ancient race with magical abilities. So the Shinra Electric Power Company hunts her throughout her entire life, trying to exploit her powers. I think she's a fairly strong-willed female character who, even though she is put into kind of damsel in distress type situations, she's fully capable of getting out of those tricky situations without always relying on our protagonist, Cloud. I think she's cutely playful and witty and sassy in a mostly real kind of way, which was a breath of fresh air in the 90s when the healer was very tropey and they were always like bubbly and cartoony, and they would have this inflection in their voice that isn't real, or they would be like overly stoic and religious, and that's not Aerith. She's real. She's a real one. Her gameplay in battle. You've played Final Fantasy VII, right?
Yes,
Yeah, so we
yes.
know we know what happens with Aerith halfway through. So there are people who don't really use her because why use someone who's going to be taken out of your party halfway through the game? I get it.
Good point. Good point.
I still use her because it's fun. She's a healer, a buffer, a status effector, if you will. She has limit breaks that heal the entire party. She has a limit break that heals party status effects, one to fill the limit breaks of your other party members. She can make your party invincible to attacks for a temporary amount of time. She has one that totally refills your party's HP, MP, and cures them of their status effects rather. Plus, she's pretty handy with a staff. And I kind of like that. I think for me, the reason why she's not higher on the list is in my experience playing her, I don't think one note is maybe the right phrase to say, but a lot of the healers on my list, 4, 3, 2, and 1, can kind of double as a fairly effective damage dealer. And Aerith is a pure healer. Her limit breaks, for the most part, they heal. They boost your stats. They don't really give you much damage. And I know they have the materia system in Final Fantasy VII, so she can obviously do damage. I'm not saying that she's not, so like, don't come for me, folks.
But
But
healers be healing.
she a healer. She be healing all day long. You know, I mean, a side note with her is I think her theme music is iconic. For the longest time, when I was younger, I actually thought her theme music was the Final Fantasy music theme. But it turns out it's just her theme. Like that's how iconic her theme is. So great character, absolutely deserves a spot in a top 5 of healer. I think some folks would put her as number 1, and I totally understand the reasonings why. I like my healer to have a little bit of brawn on them as well.
Yeah, it's interesting when you're talking about that, and I started thinking again about my list. I feel like what we might like a lot in these characters is when they kind of subvert the tropes and the classics. Like that's when they're more memorable as the healer, which is nice and fun.
I agree. What about you,
Oh,
Samuel? What is number 5?
so number five for me was Ramona, the Were Owl class from Unicorn Overlord. So that was my top game of last year. Love that game. And Ramona is a Were Owl. So she's actually the leader of a group of resistance fighters from the Beastorius region, which is kind of like the continent or Beast country. She's well respected, wise, tough, wise like an owl might be. Gameplay wise, though, she's pretty neat. So when she's the leader of your unit or squad, she can fly. also,
Hmm.
like owls might do.
Cool.
And that helps you avoid trap and terrains. And then you can do healing aids. So aid abilities are kind of when you're not the squad or unit that's actually involved in the battle, but they are adjacent to you or close by. They can sometimes do aid effects. So if she's around, she can provide a healing effect to other groups, which is really useful. She can give HP regen to an entire row in your unit, which is again super helpful. And then she has just additional utility in accuracy buffs and giving True Strike, which makes the next hit 100% of the time. And she can debuff the enemies right after they get a buff. She can say, "Nope, no, not that. Take it away." And a lot of cool things and cool effects that are useful in a party. But then yeah, she's also just a character wise strong and a leader of this group of the bestials that are kind of downtrodden and thought lesser of sometimes. And so she was a fun character. I really enjoyed Ramona.
Would you say she's your favorite healer from Unicorn Overlord also? Cool.
I would. I didn't use Scarlet as much. I think that's the other one that most people used more
Hmm.
often, but I actually, for whatever reason, didn't. So Ramona was my favorite then.
We go against the grain here at Turn-Based Besties. So,
Very true.
my next person also goes against the grain a little bit as
Who is
well,
that?
just a hair. So, my number 4 is Cube from Live Alive, however you want to call it. Cube
I was
is,
so
yeah.
close to putting Cube in mine too. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was actually shocked that you didn't.
I'm a little shocked too. But no, I thought about it and I didn't. And anyway, keep going. He's the
You and
best.
he's the best. He's the cutest. Cube is the protagonist of the Distant Future chapter, The Mechanical Heart. He's a small little robot, and I think he's the cutest, littlest dude ever with his stupid, cute red hat and his glasses, and the fact that he's called Cube,
It
but
is a sphere.
he's a sphere. I'm so dumb. I love it so much. He's probably the one character on my list that is more damage based than healing. So, I can understand if people are like, "What do you mean he's a healer?" But like, really, the choice is between Cube and Akira.
Yeah, there's really not a whole lot of healing in that game, right?
Yeah, not a whole lot, and it's really. I mean, if my memory serves me correctly, it's basically just those two. So, and I'm not an Akira hater. I mean, he gets a lot of hate online. I just like Cube. I think he's fun. So, yeah, his gameplay is number of skills that damage with wind while also healing your party or boosting your stats at the same time. So he's multi-purpose. Of course, he should be. He's a robot that way. He has a numbo, a number of
And
a numbo.
how many numbers of things does he have, DJ?
He's it reminds me of that, was it the Backyard podcast Blendor. It's cool. That was our little moment, our Frankie and Joe moment. He has a number of offensive skills that are, I think, funny and cute, like shooting a goldfish or shooting a baby
Oh yeah.
chicken for damage. um, I think folks either, like I said, use him or Akira, but I like Cube. I just find him to be a more durable party member than Akira. That's why I liked Cube just a little bit more. Plus, he's so gosh dang adorable.
Oh yeah. And his storyline is probably one of the more fun ones. I mean, they're all fun, but his is so memorable too, right?
Oh, totally, totally. Where there's no, there's one battle I think at the very end, right, of his chapter, and that's it.
Yeah, the rest is like just investigation and
Yeah,
intrigue.
yeah. So we here at TBB we love Cube so much.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So
Oh.
mine, moving on to number 4 for me, is the Kitharode class, Glimmer, the Kitharode class from Xenoblade 3 Future Redeemed DLC. So
Ooh.
this was one I also played recently, but Glimmer is an Agnian soldier. She also fights with a staff.
Ooh.
She is kind of subverting those classic tropes of a healer because she's not necessarily old and wise and a rule follower. She's young and naive and rebellious and kind of fighting against things and happens to be the healer. Which again, yeah, is really subverting the norms and it's fun that way. It's memorable.
Hmm.
Talents and abilities. So when you play Xenoblade, the healing functions. generally actually occur as AoE effects, or a lot of them are AoE effects for people around you when you get a hit on certain attacks. So that's a fun mechanic, right? You're not
Yeah.
just saying, "Here's my heal, here's a spell." You're doing damage. You're attacking the enemy, but then in effect, every time you get a hit, you give an AoE heal to those around you, and so that's awesome. And then her additional, she can do, she can res her fallen allies a lot quicker than others, so that's really important when they get knocked down. And
Yeah,
then
she razzes them up. Yeah.
they Okay, yeah, that. And then she's got additional utility in buffs, and like she can create a field effect that increases attack in that radius, and she can increase your ally's crit rate. She can debuff the enemy with physical defense and ether defense down, and other fun things like that. So she does a lot of fun things, and I find myself switching to her and having fun playing as the healer in a game that is so damage focused. So I think that's kind of a testament to why she's a fun character and a memorable character.
We should have fun playing healer characters. They can be kind of intense sometimes. Like
Yeah.
all the
Or,
pressures on you. Like if you don't heal your party, like you're the reason they die.
or like, yeah, like you think, okay, all I do is heal. Everybody else is going to do some sweet move and do a big spell or swing a big axe, and I'm just going to sit back and heal. But not always.
Not always. So moving on, number three. I think my number three, two, and one. If we did this episode tomorrow, I could switch them all. Like I think they're all interchangeable with three, two, one.
No, this is the
Nope,
order.
nope. Just kidding.
This
This
is
is the order.
cemented forever.
Yep. Just kidding. Just kidding. So number three.
Objective reality.
Fine, Sam. So my number three, forever and ever, amen, is Luna from Lunar Silver Star Story. Luna is one of the protagonists in all the various different versions of Lunar Silver Star. She's working late because she's a singer who has mysterious powers when she sings. So I guess she's technically a healing bard.
Ooh.
I guess I just kind of I thought about that when I was like writing my list today. I think she's like unofficially a bard because she sings
Yeah, that makes
everything,
sense. That makes
right?
sense.
She's kind and caring. She has that kind of tropish attitude that when the other protagonist Alex speaks to another beautiful woman, there's a couple moments where she gets a little jealous. It's cute. And then there are other moments where she acts a little motherly or matronly.
Hmm.
There's more to her story, but since you've not played it, Sam, I don't want to spoil it. It's kind of obvious when you're playing the game, but still, I don't want to, I want you to experience Lunar for the first time.
I'm plugging my ears.
Oh, yeah, okay, great, perfect, great. And anyway, so like Aerith, Luna, she's a healer and a status affector. She heals party members, she can sing her enemies to sleep. She can sing and boost the attack and defense at the same time of a single character. She can heal the entire party, and she can even make enemies retreat. She does not resurrect.
Ooh.
I know. I think
Because she's afraid of zombies.
yeah, exactly. She's like, no, thank you. That's not for me. I don't like the dead people. I think for me, she's higher than Cube and Aerith because in the game, if you give her poison darts or a bow and arrow, she can do fairly significant damage for that early part in the game when she's just
Oh.
like chilling in the back row. So to me, she's a utility player. She's not swinging a wussy staff around or anything. Like I say, no wussy staff for me, please. Just long, long range weapons. So
What tough people do? Stand far away from the action and lob projectiles.
I think so. She's great though. I think you'll enjoy playing her when I finally force you to play Lunar here this
Oh, it's
late
happening.
spring.
It's happening. We're doing it.
It's happening. It's happening. I see your number three, and it made me realize that I didn't include anybody from that series, and now I'm questioning my life. But I'm gonna let
Really?
you. Yeah, because
Okay. Well, you included Final Fantasy, so I included Fire Emblem. For
Woo!
me, number three is Celine from Fire Emblem Engage. So, this one does not subvert a lot of the tropes. Celine is a noble. She's a classic blonde wearing like white, is very regal, kind of subdued. So, a lot of those kind of traits are there.
Mhm.
Gameplay wise, she's got some ability to let healing items have more effect if somebody's close by, which is pretty cool. And then, as you might recall, if somebody played Fire Emblem Engage, there's a lot of abilities that are tied to these emblem rings that are really powerful. So, one of the rings that I believe she starts with is called, I think it was the Ring of the Caring Princess. And that one kind of allows her to be more of a blaster cleric, which is really fun.
Oh,
So she's
cool.
got the healing abilities, but then she can do her light magic spells, those kind of things, and she can use the echo ability to fire twice and knock out two different baddies. Or this one like Warp Ragnarok, where you
Mhm.
teleport really far away and then just do a huge devastating hit. And that one is a lot of fun. Yeah, there's other ways you can kind of build her with different rings that might be a little bit more healer centric. One of the other ones would be the Ring of the Dawn Maiden. And that one gives you better staff proficiency, and the staves are used for healing, and a super cool effect called Great Sacrifice. So you give of yourself and you go down to 1 HP, but then like everybody else on the battlefield is fully healed. So it's super broken in a way, right? Because that's a
Yeah.
lot of healing for just going down to 1 HP. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So she was just a fun one. Able to build it as that healer build and maybe do the great sacrifice build, or build it as a blaster cleric and be slinging spells. So a lot of fun things that you can do with Celine.
Fun. I like that.
Yeah.
That great sacrifice. That's cool.
Yeah, moving right along, DJ. What is your second place healer?
My second place healer, I'm staying in the same series. It is Ronfar from Lunar Eternal Blue. He's great. I think you're going to. I say this to everybody too, who is interested in the Lunar games. You're going to really like the first game, and
Uh-huh.
you are going to love the second one.
Oh.
But like, they are they are connected just by 1,000 years apart. So like, you would. I do recommend playing the first one over the before you play the second one.
Okay. So go ahead and sell me on this lazy pervert. Your words. I'm reading ahead.
I
Your
know.
words.
Ron Farr, man, he is a gambler. He's a former priest who seems kind of unnaturally lucky at the beginning with his game of dice. He is lazy, he is perverted, but he's also completely loyal to your protagonist. And he has a heart of gold. He has excellent banter with the party.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. I also think that it's kind of cool that we have a guy who is your main healer. Especially again in the 90s, the trope was that it was female in robes, all they do is
Mm-hmm.
heal.
Mm-hmm.
He heals uh, with dice.
Mm.
Yeah, so his weapon, he has two weapons. He has dice and then he has a mace. His dice mechanic I think is cool. So he has a lot of similar spells that Luna and Jessica, another healer from the first game, that they have, and that they can heal a single party member or the entire party. He can cure ailments. He can heal the entire. I already said heal the entire party. He can resurrect targets. He
Mm.
can do healing over time spells, which are really beneficial in the later half of the game. He can transport you to the dungeon entrance, which becomes really nice, and it means you no longer have to buy like a dragon wing, an item to transport you to the beginning of the dungeon. And it's like for one MP. Super
Oh,
cool. Yeah, and then as a damage dealer, you can roll the dice and take a gamble for big numbers or like really tiny damage. And there's another roll the dice component that I forget. And you have a
so
question face.
yeah, do you find the rolling the dice frustrating? Like if you want, like, does it fail often, and then you're like, oh, could have just done a cool thing, but I crit failed.
It's a There have been times where I have rolled and like 3 or 4 or 5 times in a row I've gotten big damage. And then equally there have been times that I'm like, cool, I could have healed, but I rolled 3 times and got nothing.
See, I feel like I'm not going to like this, and I feel like you'll like this. So I am not a superstitious person, and I don't believe in those that type of luck and those kind of things. But somehow I feel like you always have like luck of the dice and luck of the randomness. And if ever we're playing a game and I feel like it always goes against me. So I feel like I would dislike this character because I would roll poorly.
Well, the thing is, you never have to roll his dice for damage. You can just heal with him, and he has a mace that if he is not healing, you can get him right up in the fray, and he can hit for big damage.
Okay, that's cool. That's fun.
Yeah, yeah. He only has, I think, 2 dice damagey things. Everything else is heal or smack you in the face with a mace, kind of thing.
Awesome.
Yeah. Also has an excellent backstory. I think you'll like him.
Okay, now I'm excited. I will. You've talked up the Lunar game so much that I'm a little bit afraid that they won't live up to the hype, but I am excited to play them.
Well, you'll just be fired from the podcast. Then it's fine.
That'll go well.
Anyway, what's your number 2, Sam?
So my 1 and 2 are going to be funny, and you're going to make fun of me, and I'm willing to accept that. But we'll start with number 2. Second place for me is Casti Florens from Octopath Traveler 2. So I love the apothecary kind of class here, and Casti's one of the apothecaries. So personality-wise, she's gentle yet determined and strong-willed, and has a toughness to her, despite being kind of the tropey meek woman, meek girl. Even though she's a little cliched too in her story, I really liked the amnesia backstory for her and her
Yeah.
storyline. My thing is cutting out. Oh no, where'd it go?
Oh
There, it's
no.
back. It's
Oh, you're
back. It's
back.
okay. Um, and so let's see here. So yeah, she is literally a healer. So she's an apothecary, like literally a healer, and she's trying to figure out her own history as far as like what am I not remembering, who am I, while also trying to solve a mystery of why this kind of poison rain is killing people and what's happening there. How do I cure this poison rain?
Hmm.
So gameplay wise, she has a few really cool things. She can do the normal healing and everything else. She can also preventatively stop your allies from having enfeebling effects in different debuffs, which is cool. She can, utilize axes and ice magic, so there's a little bit of utility there, and you can actually do builds for damage too with Casti.
Ooh.
And then, really, where she shines though is in the concoctions. This is where it really gets broken, kind of late game. So she's really good at using items. She's an apothecary. She makes medicines and things, and so her concoctability though later at the end of the game, you can utilize if you have enough of the right items, you can not only just boost one character, you can use a diffusing serum that lets it go to everybody, and you can you can heal them like basically to full health, while at the same time boosting their BP or their boost points so that everything they do attacks more, has more power, and you can do that all with like one potion, and it's so broken and it's so awesome. So it's kind of pivotal to any of my late game Super Boss Octopath Traveler 2 stuff. So special place in my heart for Casti and the concoct, but also like her story I thought was pretty riveting. Like, what's going on? Why is she not remembering this? Where did she come from? How can she save these people from this poison rain? So really love Casti.
Fun. I remember enjoying the apothecary class.
Yeah.
It's kind of unique. Off the top of my head, I can't think of another game that has an apothecary type class.
Yeah, I think there's probably some that are similar as far as, some sort of potiony type person. But yeah, being specifically like a medical potions and then having that concoctability does seem rather unique.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
Yeah. So
Ooh.
before we get
Before.
into our number 1, as we do, we have our honorable mentions. Who just missed the list, DJ?
I know. So I've got a few. So Polka from Eternal Sonata, cute little healer from a game that was on Xbox and then ported to PS3. I would love for it to get a remaster. It's essentially Sh- Chopin's Fever Dream, and
Oh.
Chopin is a character
Oh,
that you
okay.
play. Yeah, it's weird and kind of cool.
Sounds kind of cool.
Yeah. So Polka from Eternal Sonata, my grandma Win from Dragon Age Origins. She is. I never leave home without her whenever I play Dragon Age Origins. She's always in my party, always, always. Jessica from Lunar Silver Star, Nina from Star Ocean 6. I really liked her. She exclusively heals. She
Nothing else.
zero,
No buffs. No nothing
or,
else.
or rather, she exclusively heals and buffs. Zero offensive stuff. It's unique. I've never played someone that is like zero offensive stuff.
Yeah.
And then also, I think should need to give a shout out to the original White Mage in Final Fantasy One.
Ah, that's
You
a good
know,
point.
I'm not going to say that it started at all, but we could certainly say that the White Mage in Final Fantasy One started it all, and I don't think many people would blame us.
You said it. You said it twice actually.
I said it twice, so they cancel each other out. What about you? What are your honorable mentions for Favo
Okay.
Healer?
Okay, so I already kind of mentioned Cube was definitely almost on there, which is
Yeah.
great. I am a big Octopath fanboy, so Ophelia from Octopath Traveler 1.
Oh, yeah.
And then I've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter Wilds with my friends there. Shout out to James and Mark and Taylor, who I've been playing some Monster Hunter Wilds with. But
Yeah.
there's not really classes in this, but one of the weapons that I've been playing with is the hunting horn. It's literally a big musical instrument. Sometimes it's like a giant bari saxophone that you're wailing on, and it's awesome. And you get to like, no
What?
joke, one of them is literally a saxophone, and that's the weapon, and you're hitting the monsters with it.
That's awesome.
It's so cool. And so you get to play music, and those are the spells. You kind of have like spells too that give your team buffs, which is cool. So one of the hunting horns I was playing with though was a healing centric one, so it was pretty fun. So you could sing a spell that would heal your party. So you have to hit the right button combos, and then you hit the like perform button, and then it plays while also doing damage. And then you can also do a little dance and make a circle on the ground. And then the circle on the ground has different effects. It's called an echo bubble. And one of the effects of this horn is hunting horn is to heal anybody that goes into it. So I wanted to be kind of the healer guy, and so when I played with this hunting horn, so it was kind of fun. I could sing a little ditty and beat up on a monster and heal my friends. So
That's
shout out
cute.
to Monster Hunter Wilds, but it's kind of unique too. That's most of the time you hit people with a big sword or big whatever, not a giant saxophone.
I'm kind of forgetting that the Bard class is essentially a healing class. I know we both know that from Dungeons and Dragons. And
Yeah,
classes,
it can kind of do everything in Dungeons and Dragons, but yes, it can
Yeah.
definitely be a healer.
and they're rarely called bards in these RPGs, JRPGs, but a lot of these, like the character you just talked about or Luna, they really take on this role. Polka from Eternal Sonata really take
Yeah.
on these role of bard. It's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Never
that's
realized
definitely
that.
true. Definitely true. So, all right, DJ, let's get into it. Number one for you, number one healer.
Number one. No surprise, people. It's Reyna from Star Ocean, the second story / second evolution / R, whichever version you played. She's one of the two protagonists in Star Ocean 2. She's blessed with healing abilities that no one else on Expel possesses. She longs to discover who she actually is, knowing that her parents are not her biological ones. So sad. She's fierce. I think she plays a little bit of the damsel in distress in the beginning, but by the end of the game, I think she's on equal footing with Claude. I think some people will play Star Ocean 2 and think that Claude is the real canon protagonist, but Reyna's story, especially the second half, she's really the main focus. So I could see folks calling her the real, true protagonist of the story.
Ooh, the OG.
I know. She is an excellent healer, best in the game, except for one spell that Opera has, but whatever. Reyna's the best, and I'm not going to hear anything else of it. She has stuff that can affect your status. She has offensive spells. She cures. She heals poison. She resurrects, boosts stats, hastes you, blinds that enemy. Everything you want in a healer. Oh, what's that? She can also drop an anvil on you. What? She can drop 40 anvils on you. She can hit you with a ray of light, just like Madonna. She can lift you up in a tractor beam. She can hit you with holy light. Plus, she can punch the shit out of you with her fists. With the right weapons, she can do a ton of damage as a melee fighter, and she's not squishy.
What can't
So
she do?
I hold a sword.
Too much. That's asking too much.
She can't hold a sword. She holds a sword in the opening FMV to Star Ocean 2 R, and I'm like, she doesn't hold a sword. Thanks for putting that in the anime opening, but she doesn't hold one. She just punches people with her fists. So, Reyna, ultimate healer, utility person.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And I know you agree with me. Obviously, you left her off of your most honorable mentions. It's fine.
I liked her, but I played with Cloud
Yeah,
a
that's
lot.
fair.
So I didn't play much with her. But anyway.
That's fair. What about you, Sam? What's your first place?
First place, favorite healer is hilariously also from the exact same game as my number two. It is Timonos Mistral from Octopath Traveler 2. That's why I felt bad, but also I'm gonna do it the way I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
He's the actual healer cleric in the game, whereas Cassie's the apothecary that kind of I snuck in there. But so he's an actual cleric healer. He's an inquisitor of the church. So he's a sleuth, a private investigator, a Sherlock Holmes type character. He's always asking questions. His path actions along those lines, during the day, he can guide townspeople and try to get answers that way. But then at night, he's kind of got, two sides. At night, it's coerce is his path action. So he can intimidate information out of people, which is kind of cool. It's the two sides of light and darkness there.
Cool.
He's also, I felt relatable. He's disillusioned by the church while also being, his job is to solve mysteries and secrets and issues that the church might be having. But he's also, disillusioned a lot of times by the hierarchy and seems to not be fully, set in his convictions because even his little sayings, down to the little sayings that people do, the little quips after a battle, things that he says is doubt is what I do. And that makes sense from like an inquisitor standpoint, but also it sounds like he's a doubting believer, which is interesting. And then he says, "May the sacred flame guide you," or something like that. It's just so lackluster and no lack of passion towards it, which is interesting. So, let's see here. Skills wise, otherwise he's got plenty of kind of healing skills, the normal things, but then he can do a special skill where he can heal the party over the cap and make them all kind of 9999 over cap limit for their HP, which is useful in some of the end bosses if you want to use that. He has a special ability, Alfric's Blessing, that gives an additional turn to somebody, which is also hugely important later on for certain strategies against super in-game bosses. And let's see here. He uses the classic light magic and staves, and then he's got a cool kind of boss killer final move, the Heavenly Shine, which I definitely used a few times. It uses all your SP, and then based on how much you have left, it deals massive light damage. So there was definitely a few times that I was kind of thinking, oh, kind of in trouble here. Maybe did something wrong, but tried to buff him up and then do Heavenly Shine and was able to kind of last ditch effort finish off a boss. And so that was pretty epic.
Yeah.
So Timonos just resonate with his character. Really kind of felt where he was coming from. It was fun to have that Sherlock Holmes solving a mystery. I guess I like the storylines where there's a mystery to be solved, it sounds like. And
sure.
then yeah, just also having the really souped up healing with some cool mega light magic in game stuff was fun. So loving my boy Timonos.
Yeah, I think some of these that we listed in our top 5 are what other folks would list in their top 5 as well. Like everyone's going to put a Final Fantasy character in there probably, right? But
Somebody, yeah.
Somebody will, and probably, Octopath is still, both of those games are still so huge, so I bet someone would put an Octopath healer in there, but you and I both really like a multi-purpose healer, it seems.
Yeah, and ones like we said that subvert the trope sometimes. They're just more memorable.
They're more memorable. I appreciate just a healer, but I want
you want
someone
to do something else. You don't want to just be sitting there healing. You got to do something else.
Yeah, or if they're just going to sit there healing, they have to be a really memorable character. They got to they got to bring something else to it, which is why I put Nina on my honorable mentions, because even though she just heals, memorable character.
Yeah, this is true. But we do know that one thing that all of them very commonly have in common is that they be loving their plants, and they're using them plants to heal up because that's the way it works in RPGs so often.
They love
So
them
that
those
segues
plants.
us perfectly
Stop saying segue. Just do
into the medical moment for the day. So, medical moment. Disclaimer: Turn-based besties is solely for fun and educational purposes. Anything discussed on the show is not meant to diagnose or treat medical conditions. This information is not a substitute for professional medical advice. You should always ask your medical provider about potential health concerns. We are a video game podcast. We are not a medical podcast. Okay, let's talk about wound healing with plants, like everybody wants to know. I've found a couple cool review articles on this. So, every game, it's like, oh, what does your healer do? Oh, they made a spell out of some ivy or a potion out of this, and it's like this is how you get healed.
Yep.
And it's like, where does that come from? And classically, we hear a lot about certain plants that we use in medicine and aspirin and all these things, where they come from, and different antibiotics. And so there's a lot of historical truth to that. But then how about like wound healing specifically? If somebody gets hit by a sword or stabbed by a spear, could we do anything with plants? So I found a cool review article. In general, with wound healing, right, you got to stop the bleeding, you got to kind of vasoconstrict the vessels, you got to make sure they don't get infected, you got to heal it over, which takes a few different phases, where kind of the granulation tissue, different things will form over, and then kind of a scar, and it forms over there, and then it kind of contracts down. So there's several phases there.
Cool.
But in general, yeah, you have to have kind of a healing coating and a barrier to allow it to not get infected and to be able to heal underneath there. And then if you could, not only have antimicrobial effects, but promote the actual healing, the parts that are regenerating, the parts that are growing in, the pro inflammation, like good inflammation, then that would be useful too. So can anything do that? Some of the more high note ones that we've maybe heard of that were in this review article were aloe vera. We all hear about aloe vera to use it on burns or other things like that. So there was some weak evidence for, its ability on wounds and burns, primarily due to kind of antimicrobial and barrier effects. However, one substance inside of it, this acemannan, is more well studied. It's a mucopolysaccharide. Yeah, everybody log off now after hearing that big word. But it had some evidence for stimulating certain types of white blood cells that are important in the healing process and fighting off infections. So it can stimulate those. And actually, there was it mentioned one rat study where it helped to reduce the time of closure of a wound on these rats. So those poor rats, but their wounds healed faster when they used aloe vera in this one study. So kind of some weak evidence, but maybe it helps sometimes and has some positive effects there. Some positive inflammatory effects, which is kind of makes sense. Chamomile had some weak evidence in animal models and case studies for increasing the epithelialization, so kind of the skin growing back together and wound contraction, as well as some anti-inflammatory effects. So yeah, overall, there was a few different things that had some weak positive effects that we can actually find, when they really try to study it. So I would say overall, there is a basis for these substances potentially helping in wound healing, primarily kind of from barrier and antimicrobial, but some of them do help in the actual process of upregulating the healing effects, which is kind of cool. So there is some evidence, and they are looking into more and more of those plants. So plants
what I heard from that
is plants.
is if you and I are characters in an RPG and you're hurt and I need to heal you, my options are throw a mug of hot tea in your face or dump a salad on your head. Did I get it right?
Yep, you just dump a salad. That's what these studies are. They said,
Great.
how well does somebody that was just stabbed with a spear do when you dump a salad on them?
I'll just rub some salad like that. I'll just rub some salad on you and just be like, drink this tea, splash.
And then I would be so much better.
You'd be so healed.
There'd be a little tinkling sound, ding, 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 and then I would get up, and some hearts would refill above my head.
Great. Glad we're making all these noises for it. Well, Sam, thank you so much as always for giving us a fun and weird medical moment
That everybody loves.
that everyone does.
Hi again, Mom, who's back.
She's back now. Hi, Maureen. Hello. Well, Sam, what are you playing right now?
What I am playing right now, I am playing the Suikoden remakes number one, just number one right now,
Mhm.
which having a good time. I gotta say, music though too, I think is probably my highlight so far. I'm not very
Ooh.
far, so I haven't gotten too deep into the gameplay part of it. I like the fact that I'll have be able to do six party members, and there's
Mhm.
so many different combinations. That's very intriguing. So I'm psyched. And so far the music is keeping me going there. More Monster Hunter Wilds. I finished the base game and I'm playing a little bit more of the high rank stuff, killing some monsters, leveling up, building some gear. It's a lot of fun.
Cool, cool.
Maybe another run or two of Metal Slug Tactics before we do our review on that. I've done a lot of runs, but you know it's pretty addicting to get back into that, and I might want to get one or two more runs under my belt before we review it. And then I'm about halfway or a little bit more through Super Mario RPG. So if I had some time to dive back in and finish that, that would be something to do in addition to the ever looming I have to finish Metaphor.
We're gonna gloss right over that. I'm also playing Suikoden. It's fun. I we talked about it last year on one of my top games I was looking for 2024,
Hmm.
and then the spiritual successor, Ayuden Chronicles, came out, and I couldn't get into it. So for the past year, I've been kind of nervous, thinking like, oh no, what if I am not really going to be into Suikoden
Sure.
after all? And it's fun. I think it's fun. I love, I've said this multiple times on the podcast. I love a party that can have six people in it, five, six, seven
Hmm.
people in it. So that hooks me. I love the pixel work of it. We'll talk a
It's
little bit more
beautiful.
about
Yeah.
some of the other artwork in it that I have opinions on, but this is not a Suikoden review currently.
We will get there.
We'll get there. I'm also gonna dive into Metal Slugs and at least give my 5 or 6 hours into it so I can have something to talk about for it. You are gonna be a pro by the time we get to it. You will have done like 4 or 5 runs by the time we review it.
Probably a little bit more than that as far as finish runs. So maybe, yeah, maybe something like that.
Probably a little bit more than that. That's
Maybe,
okay.
maybe more. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. No, good, 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 good. No, it's a good one. I'm excited for you to play it.
Cool,
But
cool.
where can people find us out there in social media land, DJ?
In social media land, you can find Turn Based Besties at Turn Based Besties on Instagram, and you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. Probably Spotify, some form of Spotify or Apple Music.
Hmm.
Go to our socials. Let us know who your favorite healer is from your favorite RPGs. Let us know in a comment. Email us at turnbasedbesties@gmail.com. If I emailed you and you're a sponsor who happens to be listening to this episode, email us back so we can get some sponsorship. Poppy, come
Talking to you,
on.
Poppy.
Talking to you, Poppy. Come on, man. Go to our subreddit. Sign up for our YouTube channel. You guessed it. It's at Turn Based Besties.
I
Big
guess it.
thank you to everyone who is following us on social media. We're going to get to 200 followers this year on Instagram. We're going to do it. I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to put it out into the universe until it happens. Sam, I
Yes.
love going on new adventures with you. Each new episode here at Turn Based Besties.
That was some inflection in that last sentence. So,
Thank you.
when everything in the world points right, maybe go left and see what you find. Because I'm Sam.
Wow. And I'm DJ, and this has been annoying.
Bye.
And no, it's been another
did I do
episode. No, you did it too soon.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, it's fine. Whatever. This has been another episode of Turn Based Besties. Bye.
Bye.